So I'm going to talk a little bit about yield farming and something we're building to make yield farming even easier than it is now. So we're talking about limit orders and impermanent loss protection. So first I'll go into depth about what is yield farming. Yield farming is essentially you're providing liquidity or maybe collateral to a lending protocol, and they're giving you some sort of reward token in order for supplying that liquidity or collateral. So in a decentralized exchange, in order for two people to trade in between two different assets, there needs to be liquidity available. And so it's really important for them to ask users or people to supply the liquidity. And in order to do so and to incentivize that, they give you some sort of reward token. So that, at essence, is what yield farming is. So here's a cool little diagram we built up. This is exactly what Beefy does. So if you're traditionally yield farming, you're earning the reward token on the side, right? So you're earning simple interest, which is great. Usually it's in a governance token, which means it has like high emissions. It could go up, could go down in value. You could want it, could not want it. So what Beefy does is we automate the whole process of just delivering you more of whatever you deposited. In this example, this is utilizing their Curve tri-crypto pool. So there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT that exist within this LP. You would deposit this into the Beefy vault. We would then, on your behalf, deposit it into Curve. We would farm the Curve token. We would sell it for more Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDT, and redeposit it on your behalf. And we do this at least once a day, but it could be up to every hour, every couple hours. It's completely decentralized, and anybody can call the compounding feature. So what this does now is, instead of you earning simple interest, it now creates compound interest since your deposit capital is continuing to increase. So you really have two transactions. You have one where you deposit into Beefy, and then one where you come and withdraw your assets whenever you feel like it, and now you've earned more Bitcoin, ETH, and USDT. So super convenient, right? So how does limit orders play into all of this? So the one issue is that you're in an LP position, right? And you have the effects of impermanent loss, which means the value of one of these assets, so Ethereum, Bitcoin, or USDT, could be going up or down in price, which is then giving you more of the other two assets that are in the LP position. So if you're looking at a simple idea, like let's say that you have Bitcoin and ETH goes up in price, well then essentially what you're doing as a liquidity provider is selling some of that ETH for more Bitcoin, and that's creating impermanent loss. The value of your position is whatever the amount of tokens are that exist in the LP. So if you have an LP that has a half a Bitcoin and then an equivalent amount of Ethereum, it's the combined value of those two tokens that is your total amount of LP that's invested. So you may, I don't know, want to sleep at night or want to go out and not have to worry about price, but you're always constantly worrying about, hey, what if one of them goes down in price? What if one goes way up in price and I want to exit my position? And there's no really structure or tool capable right now for you to exit yield farming positions at a certain price level. So what we noticed is that, let's say that the value of one of the LP tokens is going way down in price and you want to exit. We're going to create the capability where essentially you can tell us what the price is that you want to exit your position, so that the total amount value of whatever you have locked into the Beefy vault, and we'll be able to execute on your behalf the exit of that position into whatever token you want. So you're not always available, right? So it's important that you have this feature so that you can, just like if you were trading another asset, right? If you're invested into ETH and you wanted to exit into USDC at a certain price point on a centralized exchange, and actually a lot of the decentralized exchanges now, thanks to Chainlink Automation, you can exit into a certain token by using the take profit or stop loss features. But you can't do this with yield farming. So the common tools that you can use for traditional trading aren't available for yield farming yet. Also, if you wanted to do more advanced strategies, like enter into certain positions and exit certain positions at certain marks, you can't really do that while you're farming. So the first thing you'll do is you'll know what the combined value of whatever the position you entered is. And so you can identify whether or not you want to enter at a certain total value of the position or you want to exit at a certain total value of the position. And then you can denote whatever that amount is in whatever the asset is that you want to exit into. So this is how it's going to look on our UI. But essentially, let's say you're farming the Try Crypto Vault. You'll be able to then pick, let's say that I want to completely enter or exit into USDC right on our UI, and set the position of the price amount that you want to exit into that specific asset. So why does this need Chainlink automation? One of the basic things about smart contracts is that somebody needs to invoke an action, right? So smart contracts are really nice. They can do a whole lot of work, but they need some sort of external party to say, hey, go ahead and do this. So once that certain price level hits, they won't know that they have to exit without somebody saying, hey, the price level is hit. So we utilize Chainlink automation to look for that certain threshold. Then it will resolve saying, OK, the price at this point has hit using their nodes. And then it will go ahead and invoke the action of selling you out of your position and then entering into whatever the asset is that you wanted to exit into. So without Chainlink automation, we couldn't do a lot of these functions. So essentially, you'll be able to create multiple instances of whatever the stop loss or take profit orders you are. And then we'll be able to visualize that on the UI. And you can either close those positions or re-enter those positions on Beefy. One of the most important things I'd say is that Chainlink automation is completely decentralized and independently verifiable. This is important. We believe in decentralization. Beefy is a DAO. If there is any control over the nodes and somebody can execute or maliciously create or execute your positions, then that could be a giant issue for you. So we believe in Chainlink, what Chainlink has built. We believe in the decentralization of the nodes. And that's why we decided to use them as a partner. All right, so does anybody have any questions about limit order automation? Good.
The limit orders, is that all on the blockchain? So can I see that, or can a malicious actually see all
Nope.
that?
So it'll all be transparently displayed on the blockchain. So you'll be able to set the price. It'll put it in a queue. And then the Chainlink nodes are just watching for whatever the thresholds that you set to hit, and then it'll go ahead and execute.
The actual order is not exposed for everyone to see,
Right.
correct?
So it'll be you'll be signing the transaction, and then it's just waiting for those data inputs to match up.
Thank you.
I want to give him the mic.
Sure.
There we go. Do you guys handle concentrated AMMs where there's an upper lower bounds of the price level where you provide liquidity?
Yeah, it's actually something that is really high in demand now because everybody's deploying some version of concentrated liquidity protocol similar to UniV3. So we're working on a couple different methods. And actually, automation is really helpful for that because you're going to have to watch for rebalance actions. So there's two levels of thought. One is that you can create a wider position and then always watch for opportunities to rebalance that wider position depending on how much impermanent loss you've been taking on according to the price action. And then there's also a method of thought of creating two sides. So instead of a traditional LP where you have this wide band, you're kind of entering into two independent positions that will still need to be watched for an opportunity to rebalance. And so right now, we're doing back testing on to see which one of those theories would actually create the most yield from all of the trading fees with the least amount of impermanent loss exposure. But yeah, there's countless now concentrated liquidity protocols coming. Any other questions? Yep.
Test. Impermanent loss is obviously a very tricky topic. People have tried solving it with the single-sided tokens, pairing them with stables, perhaps. How is Beefy thinking about it with impermanent loss outside of the automation. That seems pretty cool. Would you just do it at the dollar value, or are you looking at
Yeah.
each of the pairs? So let's just say I'm putting up $100. Say if it goes below that threshold, then I'm out. Or is it I'm thinking about each of the individual pairs within the pool?
No, it's going to look at the dollar value of the total of the tokens. So there's really no way. The impermanent loss exists because somebody has to take on the gain and somebody has to take on the loss, right? So when you talk about like impermanent loss protection, especially like the single-sided, I think Bancorp was doing something similar. But essentially, they were doing it by giving you some of the Bancorp token to kind of offset the permanent loss, which is good inside a bull market, but in a bear market, there's some exposure, obviously, to that method. The limit orders, the way it protects you is that because it's comparing the dollar amount, that essentially you can say, hey, this is the threshold of the complete value of my position in which I feel uncomfortable and I want to like leave. So it's not necessarily correlated to the amount of independent tokens that exist within the LP position. It's the total value of the position itself.
Sir, one more question for you.
Sure.
So I guess the triggers for the limit order is based on the total dollar value of the portfolio. Do you guys have planned to set that actually to be price? So for example, if I have like a ETH USDC pool, really the only thing I care about is the ETH price against USDC. So when I set the limit order, I might not care about the total dollar amounts, but rather sort of price where ETH is trading at.
Yeah, I mean, so if you have ETH and USDC in a position, right, as the impermanent loss happens, you're pretty much either exiting from ETH into USDC, or you're entering into more ETH. Yeah. So yeah, I guess there's flexibility in the triggers. So we haven't built it in a way to like identifying the price of one asset to say to exit the position, but if that's a demand from the user side, then that's something that's definitely buildable. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. We hope to see you using limit orders on Beefy.